As that sear breaks, have you ever felt your sight picture going from really, really right to really, really wrong? It happened to me one morning on a mule deer hunt, and I spent the rest of that stress-filled morning bumping her in the woods a couple times as I struggled to finish what I'd started. A couple of quick snapshots is what put an end to her suffering, and now every time she makes a meal for my family, I remember that experience and its strong motivation to continue to try and hone the skill. Now with winter giving way to spring, with this in mind, let me share with you some of my early 2021 exploration of the snapshot. Here's the spotting drone heading downrange to hover over a cardboard target set out at 100 meters, and I'm getting settled to check the zero of my rifle. I do this a couple times a year, and I think of it as a dual-purpose exercise that tests the combination of my skill and my rifle's capability to print tightly under ideal circumstances. This means shooting from a rest, concentrating on the most stable position possible, and excellent breath and trigger control. Breathe, then hold, settle, and gently squeeze. An inch or less, then I'm a happy camper with faith in my gear, and it's time to ditch the rest and set to work on my positional shooting. Paper targets get replaced with steel, and I'll warm up a bit with sitting practice where I typically use targets that are 6 to 8 minutes in size. I'll practice on targets this size in 50-meter increments all the way out to 300 yards, and it makes me feel great every time I hear that steel ring. All in all, a great confidence builder for the shooting position I most often use while hunting. But sitting to bong steel won't help my snapshot, so this spring it's just a fun warm-up. And now that you've seen how I do my gear check and warm-up, let me share with you a bit about my big spring 2021 discovery session on the snapshot. My target is a 14-inch gong set up at 100 meters, and I'll confess it's sacrilegiously smaller than the 16 MOA target prescribed by Jeff Cooper when exploring the concept many years ago, but I discovered that his standard was big enough for me to be a bit sloppy, so to avoid bad habits, I've tightened it up just a tad. That tiny bit of tightening made it quite difficult for me to meet his first round hit requirement of 1.5 seconds, and when I started out early in the season, there was no way I could get my second hit within 3 seconds. Cooper's original concept never contemplated this second shot. It's something I've added as a way for me to work on quick manipulation of my rifle. Another departure from Cooper's work is my ready position. I've rejected low ready in favor of the just off the shoulder ready I use when wing shooting. Along this vein, there's 2 other key components I've borrowed from working with my shotgun: where the tip of the gun starts relative to the target, and the mechanics of a smooth and snag-free mount. As we move to talk about these mechanics, let me start by saying I'm just a hunting and rifle enthusiast. I don't instruct for a living, and what I'm about to show you is just to share my exploration and discovery of what seems to work for me. I offer it in the hopes you find it useful, and I'd love to read about or see what works or doesn't for you. Here's my ready position. It's borrowed from the Fit-Ask world, and it has the butt of the rifle held almost in line with my forearm. I found this a much quicker way to get the gun into action, and with a way more minimalist movement that reduces the probability of a snag or any of the other mistakes that can come from bigger and bolder movements. I hold the tip of the gun just under my line of sight to the target, and when I mount the gun, the idea is that even as I push out a bit to avoid snagging the recoil pad on my chest, the gun should rotate around the tip such that at the muzzle there is as little movement as possible. As the gun pulls into my shoulder and the sights come into alignment, I squeeze the trigger and move quickly to run the bolt while leaving the rifle tucked into my shoulder. With irons, I prefer the smallest amount of head movement to peek over the sights, but when my rifle is set up with glass, I try hard to hold my sight picture to make sure my follow-up is quick and accurate. Another principle I'm trying to work out is where best to hold my eyes. I've experimented both holding a hard focus on the front side of the gun and I've also experimented holding a hard focus on the target. I'm still undecided on which I think is best, but I feel like I'm leaning towards holding target focus as superior if you want a shot that's both quick and accurate. Most rifle folk will tell you this is not the best approach, but most folks also don't practice quick snapshot style hits with their rifle. I practiced each weekend throughout the spring, and before the snow was gone, I'd shaved more than a second and a half from my average time, and my hit percentage went way up. But you want to hear the best part? My daughter Julia decided she wanted some practice time with Dad, so we went to work on her standing shot. So that's all I've got for this episode. I really hope you found it useful, and I'd be super flattered if you found it inspiring enough to get out and get to work on your snapshot. Take care till next time, and thanks for watching.